So fractal patterns is something I like to take a look at. I also like to switch gears. I like to look at something called point and figure. Now you can do that. One of the free places to go and look at point and figure is at stockcharts.com. I'm not suggesting you buy any of their service or anything, but if you go to stockcharts.com, they have a nice P&F, point and figure chart. We could put in Caterpillar there too. They have a nice little charting app. Let me go ahead, since we have a nice large resolution screen here, and see if I can't make this chart nice and big for you to look at. So again, with my point and figure chart, I ideally would want to see things going sideways. What's a point and figure chart? How many with the show of hands have familiarity with point and figure charts? How many with the show of hands, point and figure charts are not something that's in your toolkit? I can't go on point and figure charts. When I learned the analysis methods around point and figure charts in the late 90s, I had the whole world open up to me. If you're interested in being able to see patterns that you wouldn't otherwise see on a price and volume chart, get yourself some sort of documentation around point and figure patterns. Again, this is off my presentation, but I can't tell you enough how much I love using point and figure charts. Now the difference here with point and figure charts versus a price and volume chart is a price and volume chart. Let's move back to the price and volume chart for a second. A point and figure chart, a price and volume chart, every time we get a new candle, it means that in this case a new month, but let's go back to our daily. Each bar is a new day of price action. We've got a high, a low, and open and close. With our point and figure charts, each bar or each column represents the amount of time since we've been seeing the last reversal, the last top, the last bottom. So you can see here on Caterpillar, they actually do put in reference for us the dates. So here's when 2016 started, here's where 2017 started. And they even put in the months. So the 4 is when April began, the 3 is when March, 2 is when February, 1 is when January began. C, of course, was December, B was November, A was October, 9 was September, 8 was August, 7 was July. You can see here since July of 2016 that July was a very volatile month. We went down, hit a reversal, a bottom, came back up, hit a reversal, or actually the 7 means up. So in June we were coming up. At the beginning of July we took a nosedive, then we came back up in July all the way here, hit August. August there wasn't so much action and most of it was sideways. September, and then all of a sudden October, and then looks like that November was kind of October was a down month, and then November was a very high up month, and then December, January, February, very quiet months. But by looking at where the actual reversals and the tops and the bottoms are found, you get a whole new understanding about how this stock is moving. A lot of action in April, up action and then down and then big up. So we want to look for clear signs of support and resistance here on the point and figure chart. The letters are representing not waves, the letters are representing months. So as you know, we have 12 months in our calendar, but because we use base 10 numbers, we stop at 9. 9 represents September. A represents October. B represents the beginning of November. C represents the beginning of December, and then we start all over January, February, March, April of 2017. And as you can see at the bottom of this chart, 2017 started on January. So I hope that answers your questions. So I like using point and figure charts because they can show me even better lines of support and resistance. So let's make sure we're jotting this down. Fractal patterns, point and figure charts. Let's look at number 8. Another tool I like to use. You can tell here, by the way, that these tests are trying to make sure things are going sideways, because sideways is a really nice way for these strategies, and you'd be surprised at how many ticker symbols go sideways versus trend up or trend down. So you'll find a lot of candidates for this. Sideways, and also not compressing or converging, because usually something that's been moving sideways and starts getting into a small tight pattern means that it wants to break out or up or down. And that's not what we want to have happen. We just want one of those stocks that's happy going sideways and that it's got very strong support and resistance that we can see every which way to Sunday. So number 8, and it's something you can do again on this free tool here, is on the point and figure chart, we can do something called price by volume. Let's just make sure. How many of you with the show of hands can still hear me? Excellent. And let me put your hands down here. Let me just ask really quick, is this useful? How many with the show of hands are learning something today? Excellent. Good, good. I like to train when I give these presentations. It's less for me about selling you stuff than it is for giving you something that's super duper useful. All right, notice that we've put the amount of volume of trades that have occurred at each price. The red, of course, stands for buying, and the black stands for shorting or selling. And so this again correlates with, is there clear support or resistance? If there's been buying or selling at the edges of a channel, that is clear support and resistance. Right? Because if you think about what support and resistance are these psychological levels where people who have been trained their whole life to buy low and sell high, they say, oh my gosh, this particular candidate, Caterpillar, hasn't gone below $91 in a while, and every time it goes to $91, that's the lowest it goes. Hey, and they phone up their broker or they go to their electronic terminal and they put in limit buy orders at $91 because they want to buy low. And the same thing around here at $98, where we see all this volume. They do the same thing. They go, oh my gosh, we've come up here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and every time at $98, we don't tend to go higher. So that must be sell high. I'm going to call my broker or go onto my electronic terminal, and I'm going to sell high. I'm going to put a limit order in there. Well, guess what? When you have all these limit orders at $91 for buying happening, it creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. All that buying, if you remember your Economics 101, when you start buying, that raises the price. So it creates that level of support. That's why we like to see support tested many times, because the more times it gets tested, the more people jump on to the idea that this is the bottom. Same with the top. More people who have limit sell orders waiting at $98, the higher the probability that when selling occurs, the price is going to drop. Make sense? How many with the show of hands does that make sense? So we're looking to hedge our bet in every single way that this thing is going to get stuck going sideways between two numbers. So that's why I'm having you test it 10 different ways. And you'll see that if you start taking this little checklist that you're writing down with me and start applying it to some of these sideways moving stocks you find, you'll be able to filter out the ones that are, you know, less exciting and get the ones that are the low-hanging fruit. Because if you're a lazy trader like I am, you don't want to always be watching the market afraid that you made the wrong decision.